The NBA Finals started off with a bang, with Tyrese Haliburton hitting a game winner to put the Indiana Pacers up 1-0 over the OKC Thunder after Game 1. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, there seems to be some thought that Giannis Antetokounmpo may not actually be moved, which puts the focus on Kevin Durant to be the big chip that falls. And also, the NBA execs are setting a date to make a decision on expansion. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content, y'all. And yeah, man, the NBA Finals was good, right? And we had a emergency live stream afterwards, so I'm not going to get into a full breakdown of the game, but I do think what this game showed was kind of a lot of the good and bad of both teams, right? The OKC Thunder shot the ball terribly. The Indiana Pacers had 24 turnovers, but the Pacers show what they do well as far as just not giving up, not going away, right? This is a team that plays a full 48 minutes, and they do not stop playing until the final buzzer rings. And that ability to not get down on themselves, to still execute, that all showed itself a lot in Game 1 of the finals. And they were able to steal Game 1 away despite the Thunder having double-digit leads throughout the majority of that game. And you got to give them credit for that, right? Like, the OKC Thunder shot the ball terribly, but what we did see is how turnovers are actually a weapon that the OKC Thunder can actually work into their game plan with the way they've been able to force turnovers throughout this playoffs and throughout the season. So it's going to be more of a battle than I think people realize. Now, I say that and watch the Thunder win the next 4 games in a row, and then we're looking crazy. But I think that as many people that were down on this series, right, are saying they didn't want to see this. All I can say to this is, the real people who love hoops and love talking about basketball for what it is, the X's and O's, I think you're going to get a show in this finals. I think Game 1 really did show that on what it's going to be able to be. Again, it was a crazy game. It was both teams did things that were terrible. The Thunder shooting, the Pacers, who have been such a good team at taking care of the ball, them having the turnovers that they had. But I think it's all perfect by Haliburton's comments after the game, man. Let's get greedy, man. We didn't even play well. I mean, listen, he's not wrong, right? And for what it's worth, SGA after the game saying it happened so fast, he just made a play with the time winding down. And it was a great play to be made. I don't know how, for people that love storylines, people that love excitement, like that was like the perfect game. And I'm sure whatever the ratings are from Game 1, Game 2 is already going to have higher ratings just because of that finish and because the OKC Thunder lost a game where many people had them favored to just like almost walk away with this series. So, and listen, I was one of those people as well. I thought the Thunder would win this series 4-1. Now, that's still possible, right? But like this game showed why you can't count out this Pacers team and why coaching matters. Rick Carlisle has this team ready. We had a video on the channel I've talked about many times. Like, Rick Carlisle, in a lot of ways, is the X factor in this series with his experience, what he's done coaching finals before. He was the coach of that Mavericks team that defeated the Miami Heat, the Heatles, right? So, like, good coaching can take you far, and good coaching can really help overcome some hurdles. On top of that, when you have a team that's fit together so well like the Pacers are, and they just have that good balance. People made plays down the stretch. Ben Mathurin hitting big plays. Of course, Pascal Siakam making big plays. Nembhard, when it came to it, making big plays. All these guys making big plays when it counted the most. That's like what it is. And Tyrese Haliburton, who didn't even have the best game statistically at all, he stepped up when it was needed. And for all those people saying that Tyrese Haliburton was overrated, right? Those players, those 13 players that voted on that poll, I wonder how they're feeling about that now. I wonder how they are feeling about that now, because Tyrese Haliburton throughout this playoffs has shown, hey, he's a guy that can be relied on, even when things don't necessarily go his way, right? Or he doesn't play the best. He's somebody that can absolutely be relied on, man. So it's really good to see how this thing is shaking up and how it's working out. And let's just hope that this finals continues keeping up this energy, because if it does, we are in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen, of this first game of the finals. Now, in Game 2, right, that goes down Sunday, you're going to get to see how the coaches make adjustments. And that's going to be a big part of this. Mike Dangold, and he didn't really, when the Pacers started going on runs, he didn't always respond the best to that. And that could be that experience, right? It could be, hey, nobody expected the the Pacers to be able to go on the type of run they did with how that game was going for them. And so maybe he got caught a little bit with his pants down. But Dangold is a really good coach. I really believe he's a good coach, and how he adjusted this is going to be really important. But the Pacers going on a 12-2 run from the 2-minute and 38-second mark to the end of that game to come back and win that game by 1 is crazy. That's what great stories are made out of. And that's why we watch the games, right? Now, games aren't won on paper. That's why no matter how big a team looks like they are have the advantage on paper, you got to walk in, you got to play the games. And, the Thunder have responded. They've been in this situation before. The Denver Nuggets did that to them before in snatching game 1. Now you got to look at how the Thunder are going to respond. How did they respond in that game? They came out and blew them out in the second game. So the Pacers are going to have to be ready for that. But I do think Rick Carlisle, as far as being the most experienced coach in this series, he's going to have these guys ready. At least I like to think so. So we're going to see what happens in this series, but it's been a fun one just with game 1 in the books, and we got to now see what happens in game 2. Let me know your guys. Did game 1 shift your predictions at all? If you were confident the Thunder will win, do you still feel confident? Has it changed at all? If you didn't think the Pacers really had a chance in this series, did game 1 change that at all for you? Like I said, both teams didn't necessarily play the best, but we'll see what happens there. But let's go ahead and move in to conversation around the league. So the Athletic and the New York Post both have suggested that there's growing belief that Giannis Antetokounmpo may not actually become available via trade this offseason. The Milwaukee Bucks were scheduled to meet with Antetokounmpo last month, but no reports have surfaced on how it went or if it has taken place. The Bucks have reportedly been eager to convince Antetokounmpo to remain with the franchise, that they can reset the roster around him to remain competitive in the suddenly wide-open Eastern Conference. One going on to say, with the NBA draft 3 weeks away, several league personnel who spoke with the Post are less convinced Giannis will actually become available. Kelly Iko from The Athletic: there's been recently uncertainty in the past week on Antetokounmpo's actual availability. Now, one could say that this is the Milwaukee Bucks playing their cards close to the vest, right? And doing that so that they can make sure that, because you lose a little leverage. If it comes out that Giannis Antetokounmpo in that meeting said, no, I want out of here. It's best for me to leave out of Milwaukee. I want a chance to win. I don't believe you guys. You lose a little bit of leverage in that. Just a little bit, right? And you're still moving a player like Giannis, as long as you start a bidding war, you're going to get a decent amount of return back. But this does raise some things, because I've said before that a lot of teams are going to wait for the first chip to fall, right? This is an offseason where there could be a lot of big movement. Everybody from Brian Windhorst to everybody is saying that this could be and shaping up to be one of the more crazy offseasons that we've seen in a while. Now, the thing with that also is that, teams like to see and survey the landscape. The first deal usually sets a tone throughout the offseason. And I think there's going to be some of that waiting to see which one is the first big chip to fall. We heard that the Phoenix Suns could be very well looking to move Kevin Durant by this draft, which is only now 19 days away. And so as that gets closer and closer and that time gets closer, you have to look at that and ask yourself, all right, bet, if this is what we're doing here, if it is that Kevin Durant is going to be moved by the draft, which is perfectly fine if that's the case, are you getting the best out of that, right? And so does that then change what Giannis happened? You remember in the offseason where Kevin Garnett was moved. It took for them to get Ray Allen first after, initially KG didn't want to be moved, and then he did want to be moved. Well, to the Boston Celtics because they got Ray Allen. But, it's just sometimes things shift. And but the East being wide open is an interesting angle here, because if the Milwaukee Bucks can convince Giannis enough that this season they can do enough to try to build something around Giannis in a season where we don't know what's going to happen with the Boston Celtics, right? We don't know how much of their pieces they're going to be moving off. We do know that Jason Tatum is not going to be there for a large part of the season, right? The Cavs are another team that could make some moves up and down, right? So there's going to be a little bit of that, and I think that makes sense. That's not anything out that's crazy. But we'll see what happens here, man. It seems like teams are ready to have a trade package, but I wonder how many teams, like for example the Houston Rockets, that have been rumored as being interested in both Kevin Durant and Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're keeping their options open. How much do they wait to see if Giannis is going to be the one to come available before making a move for Kevin Durant, right? If they have a preference between those two, right? So I think there's going to be some of that. And if Giannis really is not moved, and if the Milwaukee Bucks feel confident that they can keep him, that is going to shift the landscape of this trade market just a little bit. But we'll see what overall happens there. Overall, I think this is still going to be a fun offseason, even if Kevin Durant and Giannis aren't moved. It's just more fun when big names are moved. But we'll see if these teams can convince themselves and their players to stay there and see what they have in them. So we'll see. Let me know what you guys think, though. Giannis, KD being moved. You hear that? Maybe there's growing thought that Giannis is not going to be moved. He's extremely loyal to that Milwaukee Bucks franchise. But do you think that's the best move for him if he does stay? Is staying with the Milwaukee Bucks the best choice for Giannis and his career if he wants to win a title? Can they do enough to get that team on that level? Yes or no? Let me know that down below. Last topic for today. NBA execs reportedly have now set a date in which they're going to meet to talk about expansion. The NBA expansion decision will reach a critical juncture at July's Board of Governors meeting in Las Vegas. Adam Silver expects owners to provide formal direction on moving forward with explorative offers. The NBA has long held off expansion by first agreeing to a new collective bargaining agreement in 2023, followed by its 11-year media rights deal in 2024. Finally, expansion work was expected to begin in earnest once the Boston Celtics reached agreement on a sale and set a new valuation, which came in March this year. So what's that saying is that there's everybody that the NBA set this up to make sure that other things were taken care of first, so then they then can set up expansion. So new teams are coming in. Well, you don't have to worry about a new media deal. You don't have to worry about the sell of one of your major teams. You're clearing out all those things. And so we'll see. The WNBA is expanding. They had more room for that. But Adam Silver was asked about expansion last year around the Cup, and he said this. Let me answer expansion two ways. One, there's, of course, expansion of the current NBA teams. There, I'd say current systems, we should be exploring it. I don't think it's an automatic because it depends on your perspective of the future of the league. And as I've said before, expansion, in a way, is selling equity in the league. If you believe in the league, you don't necessarily want to add partners. On the other hand, we recognize that there are underserved markets in the United States and elsewhere. I think markets that deserve to have NBA teams. Probably, even if we were to expand more, the more we can serve. So we'll see. It's going to come down to the owners and what they decide in that meeting in July, and if they decide to move forward with expansion. I do think that's probably one of the best case scenarios for the league. It's time, right? You got cities that definitely deserve NBA teams that are waiting for NBA teams. We've heard the Vegas thing with the potential of the Mavericks moving there, but expansion is something that as the league is growing and you have deeper and deeper and just more and more talent coming into the league every single year, expansion could be one of the ways to help put that team. Now, the thing is, with parity, that is what Adam Silver wants. That's what you're kind of seeing with this finals. Does that affect that? Do they view that as affecting that at all? These are all questions to be answered by the Board of Governors, not me sitting here in my studio talking basketball with myself. So, we'll see what happens. But let me know what you guys think down below. Is expansion the right move right now for the NBA, or should they be playing a little bit closer? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything NBA related. And I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.